Jungkook had once again surpassed major US stars on the most influential chart, an achievement that, on the surface, reads like another accolade in his growing list of milestones. But beneath that headline lies something much deeper. What Jungkook accomplished wasn't just a victory in numbers. It was a reaffirmation of how influence has changed, who controls it now, and why his name continues to sit above the most powerful figures in global entertainment. Every era of music produces a few figures who reshape the idea of celebrity. In the past decade, the world saw that power move from industry-backed giants to individuals capable of igniting global movements through authenticity. Jungkook stands at the center of that transition. His dominance on the most influential chart is not simply a product of social media engagement or brand partnerships. It's a reflection of a consistent, disciplined rise that no longer depends on Western validation. For years, the influence charts were predictable. They favored American stars who held massive promotional budgets, media saturation, and a home field advantage in global pop culture. Yet, when Jungkook's name began to climb, the pattern started to fracture. The industry noticed. His ascent wasn't noisy. It was methodical. It built through steady growth, the kind that stems from credibility and precision rather than marketing spectacle. Each move he made, from his solo music to his campaign visuals, constructed a narrative that audiences connected with on an instinctive level. His win over the biggest US stars signals more than international popularity. It points to the emergence of a global hierarchy that no longer obeys traditional boundaries. Influence now belongs to the figure whose story reaches beyond borders and languages. Jungkook's trajectory exemplifies that shift. His influence isn't manufactured by a system. It's sustained by the clarity of his identity. When he appears, people respond not because they are told to, but because they feel a direct resonance that bypasses the layers of marketing that usually separate artists from their audiences. This moment marks a redefinition of global stardom. In the United States, fame often depends on visibility, constant presence across platforms, interviews, appearances, and campaigns. Jungkook's path dismantles that formula. His influence functions through scarcity and timing. When he steps forward, it's deliberate. When he's silent, anticipation builds. The power he holds lies in that rhythm, the ability to dictate the pace of conversation without being overly present. It's control through absence, a dynamic that few Western stars have mastered. Charts like most influential measure reach, but what they cannot quantify is the depth of connection. Jungkook's connection to his audience operates differently. It's not based on novelty or controversy, but on a consistency that makes his presence feel essential rather than temporary. Every release, every performance, every campaign reinforces a central narrative discipline: humility, excellence. He doesn't reinvent himself for relevance. He sharpens what already works until it becomes undeniable. When US stars chase virality, Jungkook chases perfection. That distinction separates influence from attention. Attention is fleeting. Influence is cumulative. It builds layer by layer until it becomes something that defines the culture around it. Jungkook's influence stands on that foundation. He doesn't compete by shouting louder, he wins by staying truer. The result is a form of power that feels inevitable, earned, not imposed. His victory on the most influential chart illustrates how the center of cultural gravity has shifted. For years, Western pop stars were treated as the standard, but Jungkook's presence dismantles that default. His global appeal doesn't translate from east to west. It expands beyond the binary altogether. His artistry belongs to no single market. It's an intersection where talent, discipline, and global relevance converge into a single brand of excellence. In that light, beating major US stars isn't about comparison, it's about evolution. The industry is witnessing a restructuring of who defines influence. What used to require massive infrastructures can now emerge from the precision of one individual who understands timing, image, and authenticity. Jungkook's dominance isn't an accident. It's the outcome of strategy disguised as simplicity. The most telling part of his win is how unforced it feels. There was no large-scale campaign urging people to vote or stream. No inflated PR stunt to boost his placement. The movement happened naturally, fans mobilized, not because they were instructed, but because they wanted to amplify what they believed represented excellence. That organic response proves that influence can't be bought. It must be earned through sustained trust. What separates Jungkook from the typical global star is that his success doesn't depend on saturation. He doesn't need to dominate headlines daily to remain relevant. His influence thrives in precision and control. He appears when it matters most, delivers with unmatched execution, and withdraws with quiet confidence. That calculated minimalism builds anticipation stronger than any continuous promotion. In the American entertainment model, stars often rely on reinvention to maintain attention. They shift images, alter sounds, or create controversies to stay visible. Jungkook doesn't follow that rhythm. His evolution feels internal growth reflected through refinement rather than transformation. That stability creates reliability, a quality audiences rarely find in modern pop culture. It's why brands trust him, why fans stay, and why the public continues to treat every move as significant. To surpass major US stars in influence means overcoming not just competition, but infrastructure. Western artists are backed by systems that have long dictated global trends. Jungkook's ability to transcend that framework reveals a rare kind of independence. He doesn't adapt to Western standards. He reshapes them through presence alone. His win on the chart shows that global recognition is no longer defined by geography, but by impact, the kind that crosses languages without translation. Each time Jungkook reaches a new milestone, the conversation shifts from what he achieved to how he achieved it. There's an underlying pattern in his success: precision, restraint, consistency. These elements form an identity that resists the chaos of modern fame. When US stars compete for virality, Jungkook operates on longevity. His moves feel permanent because they aren't designed for the moment, they're built for endurance. Behind that endurance lies a philosophy of control. Jungkook approaches every project with a level of detail that makes even the smallest elements feel deliberate. The lighting in a campaign, the phrasing in a lyric, the posture in a photo, all contribute to an image that feels singular and timeless. That attention to craft separates him from those who rely on charisma alone. Influence without discipline fades. Jungkook's grows. What his recent ranking signifies is not merely the victory of one artist over others, but the emergence of a model that challenges Western dominance in pop culture. He represents a generation of artists who are no longer content with being guests in the global conversation, they lead it. His win tells industries across continents that influence is no longer a commodity controlled by media empires, but a reflection of who commands genuine attention. There's an irony in how quietly Jungkook handles such monumental success. While many would turn a chart-topping moment into a spectacle, he allows the result to speak for itself. That silence enhances its gravity. His restraint draws more respect than any self-congratulatory statement could. It's a leadership style that mirrors his artistry: controlled, dignified, effective. When comparing him to US stars, What becomes evident is that their influence often peaks and fades with the news cycle. Jungkook's, on the other hand, compounds over time. Each achievement builds upon the last, forming a continuous narrative that reinforces his cultural authority. He doesn't rely on shock value to maintain attention. He relies on delivery. And that consistent excellence is the foundation of real influence. The most influential chart, though statistical in nature, has inadvertently become a mirror for how global audiences assign meaning. It reflects what people value: authenticity, consistency, and presence. Jungkook's name rising to the top is proof that audiences now prioritize integrity over spectacle. They recognize quality, even when it arrives quietly. In essence, Jungkook's triumph isn't about dominance, it's about direction. He's redefining where global pop is heading, away from saturation and towards sincerity. The modern listener no longer follows hype blindly. They follow figures who embody credibility. And credibility, in Jungkook's case, has become his brand. There's a precision in how he communicates influence. It's not about being loud, it's about being right. Each move, whether musical or visual, reinforces a vision that feels grounded yet aspirational. That balance between accessibility and perfection keeps him at the center of conversation without ever appearing to demand it. To beat major US stars on a chart built for them is to reveal a shift that can't be reversed. The world's attention has expanded beyond its old axis. Jungkook stands as proof that true influence no longer requires permission from the industry's traditional gatekeepers. He earned his power not through alignment but through distinction. The Western music system has long been structured around visibility, but Jungkook operates through precision. When he acts, it's calculated. When he pauses, it's strategic. That mastery of rhythm, of knowing when to appear and when to retreat, creates attention that sustains relevance longer than constant exposure ever could. His fans understand that rhythm intuitively. They don't just follow, they synchronize. That synchronization is influence in its purest form. His chart victory also serves as a case study in global cultural movement. Influence once moved from the West outward. Now, it circulates freely, shaped by whoever captures the world's attention most convincingly. Jungkook doesn't just participate in that shift, he defines it. The era where Korean artists had to chase Western approval is gone. Jungkook's ranking on the most influential chart proves that influence now runs both ways. He doesn't carry the tone of a disruptor. He carries the quiet authority of inevitability. His presence doesn't need justification because it feels earned. Every performance, campaign, or public moment carries the same underlying message. Precision is power. The audience recognizes it even when unspoken. That unspoken understanding forms a bond stronger than any viral moment could achieve. His influence, at its core, comes from alignment between image and action, between sound and vision, between effort and result. When all those elements move in harmony, the outcome becomes larger than the individual moment. That's why Jungkook's name continues to rise, even against stars with larger infrastructures. He embodies what modern influence demands: coherence, conviction, and control. The question is no longer how he beat major US stars. The question is why they can't catch him. The answer lies in intent. While many chase influence as an end, Jungkook treats it as a byproduct. His focus remains on craft, and influence follows naturally. That reversal of priorities is what sustains his position at the top. His current standing on the most influential chart encapsulates more than a moment, it symbolizes a turning point. The world no longer revolves around the traditional axis of celebrity. It now orbits around those who command authenticity. Jungkook stands at the center of that orbit, not because of exposure, but because of consistency that feels almost architectural in its precision. This is not just another milestone in his career. It's a statement of permanence. His presence on top of that chart signals that influence has entered a new era, one defined not by geography, not by marketing, but by truth in execution. And that truth is what keeps Jungkook ahead of everyone else.